Hello everyone, it is I, the Obsessive Gamer, and today we're beginning a new segment called Real Talk. What's Real Talk? It's basically where I talk about certain topics of gaming and maybe certain news that's going on in gaming, such as the Nintendo Switch, which is today's topic, and how it can possibly succeed. So, as much as we love the Wii U, it failed. It failed pretty bad, especially compared to the PS4 and the Xbox One, sadly enough. But, how can the Nintendo Switch not fail like the Wii U? Well, it comes down to a few aspects, like for example, the third party, the marketing, and the price point. So let's talk about the third party first off. Well, you see, Nintendo's third party has been pretty abysmal since the N64 days. Because back with the Super Nintendo, they had pretty good third party, even outdoing Sega back then, their only real competition. Now, starting with the N64, because of the fact that they went with a cartridge-based medium versus the PS1's disc-based medium, they lost a lot of third party to Sony, such as Final Fantasy VII, a game that would not be able to fit onto a small N64 cartridge. Now, and then when we go on to the GameCube, same problem. The disc was way too small at only 1.8 gigs versus the 4.5 DVD discs that the PS2 and the Xbox use. That's when they lost a game like Grand Theft Auto, which I would say could have really done a good number for the GameCube maybe. But of course, that didn't happen. And going on to the Wii, well, this is where Nintendo's power drops down. So they lost even more third party this way that they had already gained during the GameCube era. Since its power was at least on par with the other two consoles, the Wii's not so much. So it didn't do as well with third parties, and this got even worse with the Wii U, which was actually pretty underpowered as well. But now it didn't even sell well. So we're now with the Nintendo Switch as to if it will actually do well with the third parties. And it comes really down to, as I stated, the power and the storage of a console. Storage wise so far, it might actually look pretty good because it uses flash cards. Flash cards can range anywhere from a very low number of a gig, even lower maybe, to even 64 gigabytes, 128, and you go up. And that's the thing, it already outdoes a dual layer Blu-ray if they go with a 64 gigabyte cart. Or maybe they could even go as small as a 16 gigabyte card if you want to make something more of like a handheld game, because this is in the end a combination of both a handheld and a console. So say if a normal handheld developer wants to make a game that's more like a handheld game, they could just use a 16 gigabyte flash card versus say a big console game that would use maybe a 64 gigabyte one. So as such, that might already be a good thing for it. The main problem is it strong enough for the third party games? The problem here with it is that third parties usually want a console on par with the other consoles for the fact that they can easily then port their games to it and not have so much issues doing it in the first place. And they usually don't like dumbing down games. As we saw, for example, the Wii U didn't really get as much third party because it was rather weak. And as such, a lot of third party games didn't get there because they would either have to dumb it down or make an entirely new version altogether, and that's a lot of money wasted for a game that potentially might not sell well because it's the worser version. Now what's confirmed so far with the Switch's specifications is that it uses a Turga graphic processor, which we're not exactly sure how strong that is because it's a modified one, and it could be maybe based on the X1, which is kind of weak. Hopefully they're not using that. Or it could be the X2, which is actually kind of decent, closer to what the modern day consoles have. Or maybe it could be just, as I said, as NVIDIA said, it is a modified one, so it could be maybe stronger in the X2 even, maybe even a little bit weaker. It's hard to say. But, and if you want to go by rumors, well, that can range anywhere from being either closer to what the Wii U's power was, or somewhere in between the Xbox One and the PS4's power, which is what I'm hoping for rather. But it's rumors in the end. We shouldn't exactly go by rumors, as those are all over the place sometimes. But continuing on. With third party though, handheld wise, Nintendo has been always good with third party, and this is one of the things that might actually do them well, and as they could get their old handheld exclusives still in place. I just stated, because of the fact that you could get those cheap flash cards at 16 gigabytes, you could get cheaper games that are more handheld sized anyways. And as such, Nintendo might still see its flurry of third parties from handheld games still come by. But there are still other factors to that too. And the fact that it has still for third party to stick around, which, as we know, there was third party anyways on the Wii U, such as Activision, and they put Call of Duty on there because they were hoping it would sell enough anyways. But when the Wii U started doing pretty terribly, Activision gave up on it. And this is where we get to the marketing, because with marketing is one major way you sell a console. Now, the Wii U's marketing was horrendous since the moment it was revealed. Because you see, with the name like Wii U, you confuse an audience pretty damn badly. Because of the fact that, is it a sequel? Is it just an accessory? Because the U doesn't really tell you much. If it was called like Wii 2 or Super Wii, it would at least maybe tell you that it's a sequel to the Wii, that it's the next iteration to it, rather than Wii U, in which case a lot of the more casual audience might think it's simply an accessory and they'd be like, oh, I don't need that, I'm happy with my Wii already. So yeah, so this is a good thing so far. They've already called it Nintendo Switch. That already solves a lot of things right there, because it's obviously a new console. Now the other issue is marketing it actually, like literally they need to put a lot of commercials up, put a lot of ads out, and maybe a good tagline. The PS4 had a really good tagline that said, "Greatness awaits," and that stuck around. That tagline floated around for a while, and look how well it sold. It's had good advertising, had good marketing, good tagline. Nintendo needs these things. It should have its own tagline too. Maybe be like, switch up your PS4 for a Nintendo Switch. That was probably pretty bad, but I'm not a marketer. I'm just a gamer in the end. But continuing on from here, the marketing of that is pretty important, of course. But there is one major factor Nintendo needs to actually fix up that's been haunting them for quite a while, and that is the fact that they are branded as a kiddie company. Since the days of the Super Nintendo, Nintendo has been branded as that due to the fact that that a lot of their games were censored due to violence and whatever for more of a family-friendly audience, such as Mortal Kombat. The Super Nintendo version had sweat, while the Genesis version had blood. And this continued on in this idea that Nintendo is a kids game company. Even when Nintendo had a lot more gory games on there too during the GameCube era and onwards, it still stuck around. What's interesting is that the GameCube era is, I think, when it really started being called a kiddie company, because I started hearing that all over the place, contrast to, say, back then. And I think one of the reasons was also because it didn't have Grand Theft Auto, while the other two were the big boy consoles that had it. Nintendo's console didn't have that, and so it looked like the kids game company where you would play a cartoon game like Zelda Wind Waker, even though Wind Waker is a really good game, and they shouldn't be judging a console like that and just calling it kiddie just for the sake of calling it kiddie and want to be all mature and play these adult games on it. That's just how it is sometimes, really, with some people, and they will want to play it only if it looks mature and bloody. But I think Nintendo so far is maybe going more in that direction of trying to break this, because as we saw in the trailer for it, there was no kids, there was no family, which is a staple almost in all of their gaming trailers. There was just strictly adults playing games in their regular routine of their lives. And some of these games included games like Skyrim, and I think it was an NBA game, I'm not sure. But yes, you had more of these adult games that usually appeal to adults in this case, some adults. that, you know, the ones that of course don't want to play kiddie games. But that's just how it is sometimes, as I stated earlier. And it's not even that sometimes, it might be more the style. The fact that some people want a game more in the style of Skyrim, a Western styled game. Some people aren't so much into the more high colored games that are Mario or Zelda. And so by showing that too, it does kind of appeal to those type of people. And I know actually one person who doesn't like Nintendo consoles simply because it doesn't have games that are more of a Western style. And as such, that's a good step already, as that has already interested that friend of mine I know of, for example. Now, other than marketing comes the price. The price is a big one, of course, because you see, a price can break or make a console. For example, the Vita, too high for a handheld, or the PS3's early day prices, which were $599 US, that pretty much broke the console for a while, and it took Sony from being first place to third rather quickly. But yeah, so the issue here is that it's both a handheld and a console, and by being handheld, it could drive up the price just for the fact that it's portable and has its own screen. But if it's supposed to be on par with the other consoles, which I'm hoping it is, it's combining that with a handheld proportion would, say, drive up the price. That's like, say, making a PS4 into a handheld and hoping the price will also be low, which isn't really feasible unless Nintendo's willing to take a loss. But Nintendo already confirmed that they don't want to take a loss on this. So it's hard to say what they're planning to do. Are they planning to then make it quite highly priced, or is it going to be a weaker console? Or do they have some sort of loophole in there that I'm not aware of? But of course, if it's also too high, it might also kill their handheld market, because you see a lot of these handheld gamers who like Pokemon don't want to spend too much on a handheld, because they either can't afford it or they don't want to buy a console just for Pokemon. And that's really the issue. I don't want Nintendo's console and handheld killed in one go, especially the handheld market that's done so well for so long too. And I'm hoping Nintendo's smart enough for that, considering they've killed pretty much all their competition in the handheld market to date. Even a threat like Sony eventually lost to Nintendo there. But now with, but of course, when it comes down to price, it has to at least, I think, be on par with the competition. But of course, it shouldn't be too expensive so that people will be like, oh, I'll just go to the PS4 in the end. So that's the thing in the end. I'm hoping these things are actually possible with the Nintendo Switch. Hoping it gets the good third party by having a console on par with the competition, have a decent price point at least on par with the competition as well, and its marketing to actually be really, really good, and for them to be able to break that mentality of Nintendo being a kids game company. Well, everyone, I'm the Obsessive Gamer. Thank you for watching. Hey everyone, thank you for watching The Obsessive Gamer. Subscribe and like, and why don't you watch these two videos right here. This one is called Castlevania 101. We did that last week. That's part 1 of it in this case. We're planning to do part 2 sometime later in this month, so keep watching here. And this one over here is the last gaming problems episode I did. Plan to do one for next week as planned, so make sure to watch that and get ready for more as planned. And as for this episode, well, this was a news segment called Real Talk. It's more informative, more my opinion, more not as much humor, and I'm literally talking without a script for that one. That was just using maybe some point form notes, and I just speak it out. So the fact that I was stuttering a bit there and such comes from the fact that it's not scripted, and it just goes in one straight go. Just so in this case, no stops, no breaks, just straight go. And as such, you have me at times just thinking or stuttering and such there. I mean, that's my opinion, of course, there too. If you don't agree, well, I understand there too. And in fact, why don't you comment below on what you think really about this stuff? Maybe we could have a discussion, maybe. Anyways, everyone, thank you for watching.